It had been about 4 months since we delivered Little Bird from South Africa, and Tiff and I were excited to be landing back in Grenada. We had just gone home for a few weeks to celebrate Christmas in California. The mission in this trip was to explore Grenada and the Grenadines and then make a passage up to Saint Lucia to meet up with some friends who were going to spend a couple weeks with us a little farther north. But of course, before we could set sail, we had to do a couple boat projects. Nice beach.
Keith, what do you think about going shopping with me?
It's always an interesting experience. For two quick things.
Thank you.
Once all the work and provisioning is done, it's always great to leave the marina and get going. With Tiff at the helm, we left Port St. Louis and did a short hop up the coast of Grenada. We wanted to stick a little close to town, make sure everything was working well before we took off for the more remote areas of the Grenadines.
Woo! Here we go.
Not surprisingly, the weather was awesome, and it was great to shift out of boat job mode and start having some fun. Where are we, Tiffy?
We're somewhere in Grenada.
What do you mean somewhere in Grenada?
I can't remember what this cove is.
We're in the Sculpture Garden Cove.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know what it's called.
Ah, see?
Okay, we started down here in St. George, Grenada. Then we sailed up to Grand Mall. And then we spent a night, and then we spent another night at Calypso Island, which is just up here at Halifax Harbor. And then yesterday we sailed, well, motored up past the volcano to Isla de Ronde, but it was a little too windy to stay there. So we skipped it. We kept going up to Tyrrell Bay, where we are now. And then today, I think what we're going to do is we're going to sail around Tyrrell Bay to Sandy Island and Paradise Beach, and we're going to check it out. Then we're going to go by Hillsborough and check it out, and then we'll go to Anse La Roche, where there's supposed to be a cool little beach restaurant, maybe spend the night there. And then we'll probably go to Petite Saint Vincent and then back down, hang out around here, PCR test, check out, and then go up to Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, up to Clifton, which is another country, maybe on Saturday or Friday.
Boat jobs.
Just when you think you've done all the boat jobs, there's always one more that pops up. The good thing about being on a boat, though, in the Caribbean is you got plenty of time to relax after. One thing we wanted to do on this trip was learn how to wing foil, which is definitely not easy. It involves both learning how to use the wing and also how to foil a board. We started that by towing behind the dinghy, which made it even more difficult. Let's just say it's going to be a process. But in the meantime, there'll be plenty of exploring around cool anchorages like this one, Sandy Island here on Carriacou. It's super cool how our blue underwater lights seem to attract so many fish at night, especially tarpon. Those tarpon then seem to attract dorado, which we were able to hook up on a couple times. That was crazy exciting. We did see a few signs of hurricanes that had come through over the last few years, but by and large, I think most of the big damage done by Irma has been repaired, and most of the places that we had visited in Grenada and the Grenadines and even farther north had all been pretty much fully recovered. After checking into Saint Vincent and the Grenadines on Union Island,
We found what turned out to be one of our favorite anchorages in the lower part of the Grenadines at Chatham Bay. There was a little beach restaurant run by a husband and wife team that did a great barbecue of lobsters and other seafood, and also had a great sunset view. It also had some cool puppies to play with. One thing that was cool was all the snorkeling in these anchorages. Even some of the more crowded anchorages seemed to have a lot of fish and a lot of turtle grass and things like that that made getting in the water really interesting. You couldn't really tell which anchorages you would love and which anchorages wouldn't be your favorite just by reading the guidebooks and things like that. For example, Tobago Keys here, which was supposed to be one of the best in the Grenadines, ended up being just kind of too crowded and a lot of bareboat charters coming in and out all day. And some of the other anchorages that weren't written up much ended up being our favorites. Luckily, no matter where we were, Tiff seemed to keep things interesting. Yeah, oh my God. You got it, you got it. Good job. It was cool that we were always able to find a little beach somewhere to hang out with without too much of a crowd, though. We can say unequivocally that the passages between the islands were generally pretty rough and windy. I think we saw typically, upwards of 25 knots on the tips of the island with a little bit of wind acceleration. And the way the currents and wind played between the islands, it would get fairly rough, but Little Bird handled it perfectly. One town we ended up liking quite a bit was the cruiser area of Bequa. Had a lot of fun places to hang out, great services for the boat, plenty of restaurants, and really just a cool vibe. We did a quick tour around Bequa, which was really interesting. One thing Tiff and I agreed to after the trip was that we didn't explore the interiors of the islands enough. We'll do more of that in the next trip. We had a lot of really fun sailing, especially on the somewhat longer passages. We did a couple that were 60 or 70 miles, which the Little Bird can do in really just 5 or 6 hours, which was really fun.
Where are we, Frankie?
We're in Cumberland Bay in Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, and there's our boat over there. One island that a lot of people seem to skip entirely is Saint Vincent, which I think is a mistake. Cumberland Bay, which is about midway north on the island, ended up being one of our absolutely favorite anchorages of the whole trip. Really quiet little bay, very fun restaurants to hang out with, and just a great group of people that we ended up meeting on the beach.
I want to buy some roses in town.
Yeah.
Make a bouquet of flowers, and I put it in the middle of the basket, and I put it in a black bag.
Ah.
So if I leave it plain, everybody just gonna get excited. So I want to surprise everybody whenever I did it,
Nice.
Yeah,
It's your signature.
of course. I did that last week for a lady, and
Aww.
she said, Wesley, you are the best, because you know the French guy said, instead of they said they're gonna say perfect. Once they say perfect, that means they're good. They love
Yeah,
the
my
service.
mom loves that word perfect.
After Cumberland Bay, we headed north up to Marigot Bay on the island of Saint Lucia to pick up Mike, Margaret, and Stan, but more of that in the next video.